Welcome to Discover Me podcast, where we bring you amazing people doing remarkable things in a very influential way. I'm Brian.
And I'm Lavanna.
And today we have with us Anthony Brinkley, CEO of On the Brink Consulting, a global leadership development company. Thank you, sir, for joining
Welcome.
us today.
Glad to be here. Let's get it.
Let's get it.
Okay.
All right.
Well, then we'll jump right into it. Please tell us who Anthony Brinkley is.
Anthony Brinkley's a man born in a place called Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina. Grew up in Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut. Joined the Air Force, did 28 years. Had the privilege of leading over 100,000 people directly and indirectly. And then upon retiring as a chief master sergeant out of the 11th Wing at Andrews, I started my own company, On the Brink Consulting, where I do leadership training, resiliency training, workforce development, and work for. Matter of fact, tomorrow I'm doing a webinar for the NFL Players Association. They're one of my clients. Up there where you are, one of my clients is a mayor of a large city. I'm actually his life coach. And then in December of last year, I had the #1 best-selling book in America in the category of inspiration. And a lot of people still haven't heard about it because of the election cycle, things going on with the news. So we're about to start a national tour to kind of do some things with that. Also, the bottom line is I do one or two things. So I'm just glad to be here and looking forward to talking to you both and learning as well from what you all have to offer.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. Can you tell us the name of your book?
That's what I was.
Yeah, actually, the one that was #1 is called "You Can't Run Away from You: Journaling the Rise to Manhood."
Okay.
So the title is "You Can't Run Away from You." The subtitle is "Journaling the Rise to Manhood," because just a real quick synopsis. I had a lot of things I encountered as a young man. So when I was 5 years old, I thought I was going to school one day. And 3 hours later, we ended up at a hospital where I was going through chemotherapy for 6 months. So I was extracted from my house at 5 years old. And then after that, I came home and in first grade, saw someone get killed in front of me, had a gun pulled on me, witnessed a lot of things that most people will never experience. A lot of people don't know this, but in America, 50% of Americans experience a traumatic event in their lives before the age of 14. By the time they're 24, that number goes up to 75%. So the reason I call my book "You Can't Run Away from You" is because when I had abandonment issues and separation anxiety and things associated with my trauma, I would sabotage a lot of things in my life. But I felt that at some point, no matter how far you run, you can't run from yourself. So the book was like about me. I was the subject, but the book is about life. So it's actually helped a lot of people unpack and look at some of the things that go on in their lives.
Hey, I love it.
Sounds like a good book.
Yes. We'll definitely be picking this up and reading for myself.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Well, again, at a certain point in the book, most people, they stop seeing me and they start seeing themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I kind of wrote in a conversational tone, and there's several themes most people can relate to. And like I said, at a certain point, like I had somebody say, "Why did you do that?" And they were so upset. I was like, well, I didn't do it to you. So it triggered people. And one of my friends, I told a story about my dad was in and out of my life. And I would tell people when I didn't know where he was at, they would say, "Hey, where's your father?" And I used to tell people my father was dead. And I wrote in the book, the reason I would tell them that he was dead was because it was easier to account for someone who was dead than you didn't know their whereabouts. But I also said, I tried to kill my father with my mouth, but my heart wouldn't let him die. Mm-hmm. So a lady, she was like 70 years old, and she read my book. And she said, when she read that part, she said, it reminded me that my father wasn't in my life. She said, as a young girl, I saw little girls' fathers hold them up and do things with them. And she said, I don't even know what that's like. So at some point, because of the way I wrote it, it kind of pulls you in, and then you start evaluating things in your life. And that was actually my goal, is to become transparent, a little vulnerable, but then make people kind of in an off sneaky way, make people look at themselves.
Yes, because in this last minute or so, I have definitely like ran through my life just real quick and can relate to quite a few of the points that you just put out.
Most definitely.
So definitely we'll be picking this up and will be my next read. We've been challenged to read a few books this year in our church. So this will move to the top of my list. So I appreciate that. Good rundown of your book. Thank you.
So, and speaking of all the incidents that happened earlier in your life, did that have anything to do with you starting your business? Like, what was it that made you start your consulting business?
Well, to be honest with you, I wasn't a good employee. It's actually miraculous that I made 28 years in the Air Force because I never held a job more than 3 weeks before I got in. Matter of fact, I got fired so many times coming up as a young man. I used to critique my former employers on how they fired me. And like I remember working at McDonald's and I was working on the fries and my manager came by and said, "Hey, Anthony, I need to talk to you about something." I said, "Hey, I would like to talk to you, but I got to take care of these fries. I got to make sure they're okay." And he said, "Listen, those fries are no longer your responsibility. Don't worry about it." So I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're fired." And I said, "Wait a minute. That's not how you fire somebody. You actually you take them in the back room, you pull out a file that talks about what you expected and what ended up happening. I have a chance to speak to those things and give my rebuttal, and then we can talk about it." He said, "I ain't trying to hear all that. Get on out of here." So when I went to basic training, most of my friends were betting that I'd be home in about 3 weeks. And I actually said, "Man, I might take a piece of that because I ain't never had a job that long." So anyway, when I got in, God blessed me and I moved up the ranks and different things. I PCS 14 times in 28 years. So when I always had like strong ideas and strong opinions, and even in the military, people couldn't. They were like, a lot of times, unfortunately, we don't listen to people lower rank, not because they don't have anything to say, but because sometimes we're just closed-minded. So I made up my mind that I was going to promote myself to a point where you had to listen to what I had to say. So then when I finally got ready to retire, I knew that I wasn't a good employee. I was too strong-willed. So I said, I'm going to start my own company and I'll work for my clients. So that's why I decided to, and I gleaned a lot of lessons in life and structure and how to put things together in the Air Force. So I just started my company, and that's kind of it.
Okay.
So all right. So I've heard people say before, like they started a company because they couldn't hold a job, but you did 28 years in the Air Force. And that's, if anyone who doesn't know, that's not the easiest thing to do. It's easy to get those first few in, but then it starts to get challenging for some. So you definitely killed it there. So as like, what does your company do? So what I know it's consulting, but what's kind of the focus there?
Well, let me go back because my career wasn't easy in the beginning because of me. For example, my first assignment, I ran into someone who thought it was appropriate to call me a derogatory term associated with my pigmentation. And he had a few beers in him and he woke up with a broken nose. I woke up in jail. And so that happened. And then I got decertified, and my there was actually a guy that I worked for, and he was my training manager. And he looked at me, he said, "Brinkley, I don't like you. I don't like people like you. And I'm going to make sure you're going to be out of my Air Force." And so the two guys that had the job before me, he decertified them in training. And then he decertified me in training for no reason. So I was on my way out of the Air Force. And so anyway, I'm going to answer your question here in a second, but I'm just speaking organically. So then on top of that, I used to rap. So when I was a staff sergeant, I was like, you know what? I was in the Air Force, but the Air Force wasn't in me. So I'd run around. I'd come to work halfway hungover, but I was good at my job. So somebody told me a long time ago, when you had like your BDUs and your fatigues, if you shined your boots and looked sharp, it gave you benefit of the doubt. So they're like, "Man, Brinkley messed up." They were like, "Wait, that sharp guy, the guy with the sharp boots?" So I learned like benefit of the doubt if you just look good. But what happened was I wanted to be a rapper. So me and this guy, he was a major. And I was in a flying squadron, and his brother had a studio in LA. So I went to LA and I was doing a demo. And I didn't realize how technical music was until I did my demo, and I realized I wasn't ready. So I called back and said, hey, I was on terminal leave. I said, can I come back to work? Because I didn't have a plan. And my mom's like, you can't come back home. So, so anyway, I kind of jumped off the subject, but really what my company does is, one of the things I do, I do resiliency training. I'm actually a subject matter expert for the resilience program in the Air Force at the Pentagon. And actually I've been conferring with them on a program that they're going to bring out. They're going to roll it out for the Air Force here in the next couple of months. So I've helped with the strategic communications part of that. I do strategic communication, strategic planning. I do workforce development. I'm actually doing something for the NFL tomorrow, a resiliency program for the players all over the country. So I go to their conventions and stuff. And they're kind of a funny group because if you haven't played in the league, they don't even let you in the room. But that's a whole nother story. So it's a miracle that I even do work with NFL players. So what I teach in resilience, one of the big things I teach is that resilience isn't like an event. Like you'll say, this guy made a great catch. What a resilient play. Or we were losing by 12 points and we came back and won. And I tell people, resilience is actually a mindset. It's actually understanding orientation to yourself, orientation to information that came to you, understanding those other factors that cause you to look at life the way that you do. And so it's not even about, people say we need to bounce back. I said, no, we don't bounce back. Because if you bounce back, you just get to where you were before without lessons, without knowledge, without wisdom. So from a molecular standpoint, you need to bounce forward. So I actually teach people through assessment tools. I teach people by self-awareness, and then we teach them by external means to help unpack their stuff. So we do resilience training, and I'm an executive life coach too. So I do a few things, and also I do EO training. And matter of fact, anyway, so I do a bunch of different things with people and groups. And matter of fact, I just got a client. I just got back to the Dominican Republic 2 days ago.
Wow.
And I met a guy down there, young Black man, 34 years old. And he started a company and he came up with this new product. And when someone heard about his product, they bought him out. He sold this particular company. And he's now, so he was in Chicago. And so he was just sitting around saying, well, I don't have to work anymore. I'm a multi-millionaire. So don't know the language. He doesn't speak Spanish, never been out of the country. He flew to the Dominican Republic. He's been there for 2 months. And I met him on Sunday. So we were talking about business. And he was like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And so we started talking. And he said, well, can you coach me? Because I'm good at the work stuff and the technical stuff, but I'm having some challenges in my life. And so I told him, once we get you situated, we're gonna turn your life story into an industry. For example, people always say it'd be nice to do something that you love, let it become beneficial. Then you can do altruistic things or live in a tropical place and travel. And he's gonna be like, I've done it, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. And we're gonna do it. So anyway, he was like, that's a great idea. Long story short, I'm sorry.
No, that's pretty yeah, I like it.
Yeah, because it leads into like your client, and I won't say target client, but it leads into your clients. So it seems like it's very broad. But can you, okay, so you've mentioned the NFL and some big industry companies, but is there a target client or someone who is a ideal person that you look for your company, or that seek out for your assistance?
So let me answer it in a slightly different way. That's a really good question. So when people ask me about business, like they'll say, what's your business plan? I said, first of all, let me explain something to you. My business plan, they don't teach in business school. And as a matter of fact, let me give you a statistic. About 85% of people that teach business school never had a business. So all they talk is about theory. They don't know what it's like to have doubt, to be let down, to be betrayed, to have things not go your way. So when it comes to doing business, matter of fact, near where you are, the Baltimore Ravens, they're one of my clients. When they had a situation with Ray Rice in that circumstance, when he got into it with his then fiance, now wife, they lost a lot of corporate sponsors. So they asked me to come in and help their sales team be resilient. Because if you're in sales, 90% of your time you talk to somebody, they tell you, I don't want to hear it. It's like if somebody call you right now, you're like, hey, are you interested in the Wall Street Journal? I'm like, how'd you get my number? I'm eating a sandwich, right? So,
yes.
so when you look at people that work in sales, they have a high level of alcoholism, divorce, depression, because it's like you get rejected because people say, how many people you called? They're like, I don't want to call anybody. I ain't asked you that. Let me see your call sheet. So to your question, what I do is I understand, one, the people that teach business school, they have principles, but in reality, you know, you got to go out and do it. So that's one thing I understand is 85% of them that teach business school never had a business. The second thing I understand about business is I know what peanut butter and jelly tastes like. Now, what I mean by that is if my work doesn't work, I know how to live like I used to live. So I know how to eat potted meat. I know how to eat ramen and noodles. Potted meat. So I'm saying that to say where people get in trouble, in my opinion, is they're not courageous enough or they don't believe in themselves. And so I say if what you do don't work, you already know how to have a regular job. You've been doing that. So my client, to your question, is I can talk to anybody. I've done work for the University of South Florida, the University of Southern California Trojan football team, University of North Texas. So I do university works. I'm ordained in ministry. My credentials are behind me. So I do leadership training for churches. So my program is built. I created my own programs, and it's based on humanity. It's based on, like, if I give you the acronym LOVE, L, you got to be a good listener. Like, you are married. You squint with your eyes. You see something different about her. You get rid of distraction. You squint with your ears so you could hear what she's saying and take it in and listen. Oh, I observe you. So I watch what makes you come towards me and want to garner working together with me. Or through observation, I see what repels you. Maybe you don't want to be in front of people. You want to be behind the scenes. I make sure that you know you got value. And if something happened, you were extracted from our presence at the wrong time or inopportune time, we would never be the same. And then E, I empower you to love others around you. So my ideal client is anybody who wants to grow their organization. That's why I have a hodgepodge of organizations I work with.
Okay. So anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so here's my business plan. Everywhere matter of fact, this week, y'all in the Air Force, in 2 weeks, I'm gonna be at the AFSA convention. They're doing this thing, a TED talk for like an hour with like 5 speakers. I'm the first one speaking. And guess what? They have no idea what I'm about to do. Because most speakers go in, they do the obligatory. I want to thank the chairman, the president, and the people who allowed me to be here. I told them, look, when I come in, I want you to put on Craig Mack flavor in your ear. Boom, boom. And while it's bumping, introducing, coming from blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to have the whole room bumping.
Wow.
And so my whole thing is, even when I talk to them, that you have a flavor that no one else has. Because to be born, people go to the store to buy a lottery ticket. I say, you ain't got to go to the store to buy a lottery ticket because the odds of being born is 1 in 400 trillion. So when you was born, you hit the lottery in life. Yet you were born uniquely crafted, but many people die a fake of something they should have never been. And that's what I'm going to talk. So I'm saying all that to you to say this, that when you go in a room, and if every time I get a job, if I don't get another call back, I think I did something wrong. Most of my jobs are referrals, organic. So what I would tell people from a business standpoint, you have to have people to help you develop. Okay, that's fine. But once you get established, there's a thing called advocacy. When you have people to become advocates for you, they will speak on your behalf in your regard with nothing in mind coming back to them. They just believe in what you do. So my goal is I create advocacy through my authenticity and my connection. And so when you get advocacy, your phone just rings. So my business plan is I consult with God. I do the best I can do, and I wait for the phone to ring. And I've been doing this for 12 years.
And it works.
Yeah.
Know the Lord. I can tell. I feel every bit of this.
The same God I know.
Yes, I do.
You got to remember something. Don't let a person who can't read proofread your vision. The reason they can't read it because God didn't give it to them. So I don't even want your input. No, that's why I'm gonna tell you what else they do. They'll say make a list and call people. Man, I don't cold call anybody. If I don't know you or you don't know of me, like we say silly stuff. We'll say it's who you know. It ain't who you know. It's who knows you.
Yeah.
Because if they don't know you, then you can say you know them, but they're not gonna respond. So I don't talk to anyone I don't know. So I say if I want a job somewhere, I will talk to someone who's an influencer to the person I want to get in that room. If I don't know anybody, I don't waste time with it. So when I reach out, I'm like 80-90%. When I talk to somebody, I get a job. But you cold call people, you're gonna waste a whole lot of time. Now, I'm not saying that won't work for people, but that ain't my model.
Look, I'm over here learning business strategy.
I know. I'm like,
All
let
right
me
now.
incorporate this right now.
Hey, whatever, you got it.
Yeah, thank
But
you.
you know what though? So I'll agree because I'm EO and I heard you speaking at our conference, and right away, you know, I messaged you like this, and we got to get you on our podcast. So,
I'm honored. I mean, you helped me, but look at what happened. You're trying to get me in Guam and all other kind of places, and it didn't happen. But I'm saying that to you to say, that you got look what you did. You reached out to me, say, hey, I heard you speak, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm saying, cool. What people don't realize is the most powerful thing in the universe is a question. Even in your marriage, don't argue with your husband or your wife. Just say, listen, I know you're upset, but why are you upset? Or if this happened, why did this, but when you go back and forth, no, a question causes you to take a step back and reflect and then do introspection. And then, but when you argue and what, so you called and said, hey, Chief, are you willing? Or you sent me a note, are you willing to do this? And I'm like, yeah. So I'm here because you asked the question.
yeah, I'm glad you said yeah. So, you know what? And speaking, you were talking about the NFL and resiliency earlier, and I thought that was interesting because we just did an interview recently. That we haven't aired it yet. But it was a former NFL player who talked about how resilient he was throughout his career. And he was like, you wouldn't believe how many programs they have to help us transition. So when you said
that's what I'm doing. The work I'm doing tomorrow is for former players.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Matter of fact, the director, the NFL Players Association headquarters is right near you all down in DC. It's downtown DC.
I had no idea. Like this is the second time we learned about it through him, and I was like, okay, I didn't.
What's the person's name you talked to? Who's the interview with?
His last name was Pruitt. He played for the Dolphins.
I don't know.
Julius
Pruitt. So he actually, well, I don't want to tell too much of what he's going to say in the interview, but yeah.
No, I'm just saying. I just want to know if I knew him because I actually did work for the Dolphins a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he was a receiver there around the time with Brandon Marshall back in those days, but. Yeah, he transitioned and like he was talking about how it wasn't the smoothest transition, but the NFL has a ton of programs that help them out.
But the problem is one, a lot of people don't notice about the NFL because I did work with the NFL and the Players Association, the union. I do more work with the union. So the average, like we will live to be 70, 80, or 90. The average person who played in the NFL will not live to be 60 years old. They have a lot of problems. And anyway, so that's one. Two, in the NFL, your whole career, your whole life, you've been playing football from when you was a kid, and now you like 32 years old, and now you like you can't do anything else. So they have a lot of depression. They have a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, you have a lot of people who are doing well and well adjusted, but there are a lot of people, their whole identity was based on what they do. Even when they got out, their moniker is like my number and this, they associate themselves with their game. And I'm like, you're gonna live way more after the league. So a lot of them struggle big time. That's why they bring me in.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was saying in the interview is that that transition was hard. And I just told him, I said, but I am happy to know that there are people who are out there like really pouring into this transition, because even like for us transitioning from the Air Force, there are so many things out there available to assist with your transition. And it just provided me some comfort. Not that I've ever played in the NFL or anything, but it provided some comfort to know that organizations are really committed to the transition for people, because it's a very hard time, especially when it's based on your identity since a child. So yes.
I think
so. Let me throw something at you too, real quick. For you in the military, I tell people like this. So when there was, I talked to a lot of Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force. Chief Bass, I just talked to her today. So I do a lot with the Air Force. General Brown, when he was a wing commander, I was his command chief. So we go way back. I'm not saying that to make that, but I'm making a point. I will tell you that the Air Force needs to do some work on their transition program, because, and I actually sent one to a former Chief Master Sergeant. I did my research, Department of Transportation running, when its inception, all this. And I said, you talked about how you dress, a resume and or a vitae that you may use, how do you accentuate your clothing, different things. I said, that's not going to be the biggest issue that people are going to deal with. It's going to be the sense of purpose. It's going to be a sense of belonging. And so my analogy is, imagine that you've been running as fast as you can for as long as you can, and then we tell you stop running. So initially you like, I'm tired, I need to catch my breath. But then what happens is, once you catch your breath, you have to start to figure out what a regular day looks like. Because when you're in the military, you don't have to think about what you're going to wear, where you're going to be, what you're going to do. When I got out the Air Force, I had like 3 pairs of shoes, because I didn't really go, and so I'm saying that to say, one of the biggest things that I tell people is that it's going to take you probably between 6 to 18 months to feel normal. But if you start conceptualizing what your day looks like, and even in many families, we don't realize that we compartmentalize each other because we're tired, or we know they're going to be home for a certain amount of time. So then when you come home, when it's all over, you got 100% of that person. And if y'all got issues, they're going to start to come up. If y'all doing well, it's going to be better. But we have been taught to just keep pushing stuff down and keep going. So anytime I can talk to people about transitioning, I'm like, you have to figure out what a day. I remember one day when I first retired, I was doing a bunch of stuff around the house, and I did some exercise, and I was like, man, I've been productive. And I looked up, it was 10 o'clock in the morning. I said, what am I going to do for the rest of the day? So just heed that you want to start saying, what does a regular day, what does my passion, what does my connection to that passion look like? And then that will be where your next career iteration, or if you're financially sound, maybe you become altruistic for other people. But it's going to be about purpose for most people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of what you've been saying ties into like kind of what we're trying to do right now. So I know we got a podcast, we got a brand too. We have 2, fitness attire, and then we have New Me, which the shirts say like New Me established daily. Basically, each day you're gonna attack this world, a new person. Like don't live through yesterday. It's a new day.
You have to send me the information. I'd love to get some of that.
I will. Yes, sir.
I think it's a beautiful concept.
So and that's what we do. We try to have the podcast to bring people on like you to show people that they can, you can do this. It's not impossible. We got the shirts to go with it. It's all about that. So so a lot of stuff you've been saying, I think earlier you said the same God. You said something, we got the same God. That's probably our best selling shirt. Same God, new me. Same God, but I'm a new person.
Every day. Right. And you have the opportunity every day to figure out who this person is, what you want to do, your purpose in life. You get a new opportunity every day. And
not as a marketing pitch, but what you were saying, we're tying into it. So I was just thinking of that as you're going through.
No, I don't. But see, again, if you're good at what you do at your business, I met this young lady today. She was trying to start a business. She was complaining that people are not helping. People aren't who they say they are, which is true in a lot of cases. So she said, I'm trying to do a nonprofit, but I don't know how to do it. And people are trying. So what I did was I said, I'm going to do something for her. I have a friend that's in business development. I said, I'm going to pay you to bring this. I said, I'm going to give you this. I'm going to get this young lady your number, and I'm going to have her call you. Y'all going to set up an appointment, and you need to tell her everything she needs to know about nonprofit, and then invoice me. And when I told her that, I said, now you can't say that people ain't trying to help you. So what I'm saying to you is this: it's not gratuitous or over the top, or you just trying to push. When you are interesting, people are gonna want to know more about you. If you ain't interesting, then you gotta pedal. Hey, let me try to give you this because you ain't interesting. And so people don't find a connection with you and they don't want to know more about you. But when you become interesting and so with your marketing knew me and then you explained it succinctly, I was like, man, let me get that because that's beautiful. And I'll be like, I mean, I market it for you, like, because it makes sense, new me. If you the same, like Muhammad Ali said, if you the same person 30 years that you know from now that you were, you just wasted 30 years.
Right. Yeah.
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 Anyway, I don't mean to take y'all show in a different direction, but
No.
No.
I love it. So one thing we do though, so at this point of the show, we like to play a game called Quick Six.
okay.
We're gonna ask you 6 questions and you answer with the first thing that comes to mind. So
Okay.
Okay. Cardio or weights?
Oh, definitely weights.
Okay.
would you rather have a big party or a small gathering?
Oh man. Woo. Well, I'm an introvert, so I would go with small gathering.
Introvert?
My gifting is an extroversion. When you call me for an interview, you don't expect somebody to just be, you know, reticent and all that. So my gifting is an extroversion, but when I'm finished, I have to kind of, you know, recharge.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
Yes, gotcha. Okay. So for these 3 pair of shoes that you said you had when you retired, online shopping or in the store?
Well, first of all, I don't like shopping, but I'm an old dude, so my heels got drugged into the new century, so it would be in the store.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna tell you who don't have 3 pair of shoes, but we're gonna talk about that.
Never.
Right. Well,
TV or a book?
I hate to say it, but it's TV. But I read a lot of books. I'm normally reading like 4 books at a time, but I waste a lot of time watching TV. So
You said only, okay.
At a time. Okay. Right. So are we giving up cake or ice cream?
Oh, it's got to be cake because I can, you know. But if I eat too much ice cream, well, we'll leave that alone.
Anyway. All right. We're talking projects. You working as a solo or a team?
I'd rather work as a team, but to be honest with you, I tie this to the business, but I end up working a lot solo because people want me. So one of my challenges is trying to find people that's effects driven. But I'd rather have a team, but typically I work solo.
Okay. All right. All right. So advice, right? What piece of advice would you give if we're talking about transitioning now? A veteran, because you're a veteran. What piece of advice would you give a veteran that's looking to start their own company or basically a company? Yeah.
One, I'll talk to y'all. Make sure you're in agreement, you know, because if your family life, if your personal life, if those things that make you who you are aren't right, then to me everything else comes from that. If your personal life isn't in order, you shouldn't be thinking about doing anything like this. Because I tell people, like, writing a book or having a business is probably the closest thing a man will do to having a baby. You know, so you have to push that thing through the birth canal. And so you want to be healthy, you want to have everything working right so that baby can come to full term. So that starts with the environment that you're in. And so if your environment's good, then everything else. And then we only ask for one piece of advice, so I'll stop there.
Oh, that was.
Oh, yeah, I was waiting for the
rest. But that was good
yeah.
advice. All right.
Well, the other thing is you need to be realistic. My brother says it this way. He says persistence will always overcome resistance. Because whatever you're doing, somebody else is already doing it. So theoretically, you have to introduce yourself to an environment that has what you're already giving theoretically. So what makes you stand out? I started my company. I was talking about resiliency 15 years ago. Nobody knew what it was. So I wasn't getting work. So I was doing other stuff. But now everybody's talking about resiliency. So when you believe in what you do, then you have to stick to it. And a person said this to me. They said, Anthony, you live your life like you don't have a plan B. And I said, I don't. I said, I'll give you an example. When Moses was leading the children of Israel out of Egypt, God didn't say, okay, if you get out in the wilderness and don't work out, come see me and we'll figure out what's next. He said, go. So too many people live their life like they got a plan B. I don't have a plan B. I'm going to be spectacular. I'm going to be a spectacular success or spectacular failure, but it's going to be spectacular because I'm going all in. So live your life like there's no plan B. Conduct your business. I quit everything. One day I'll tell y'all the story, but I lost everything when I started my company. I was broke. And they said, go to school, use your GI Bill. You could come work for my company. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. I put everything into my business because I believed in it. So I said, I don't have a plan B.
Love it.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't believe in plan Bs myself too much anyway. I say too much because I might have different routes for that plan, but it's still the same plan.
So I'm a deviate. So I was talking to people about relationships. I said, you know why men get in trouble in relationships? Kind of your point. I said, there are more women than men, so theoretically, you know, you got options. But to me, a true woman like your beautiful wife will stand out in the crowd. So it could be 100 women in the room. One might appeal to me. I said, if you have a good woman, she looks at you like you her only option. She's dedicated, she's loyal, she's loving, she overlooks little things about you. I said where men get in trouble because there's a lot more women and different things and whatever, and they put in their head that they got, you know, they got game or whatever. They get a good person and they live their life like they have options. Mm. When you live your life like you don't have options and your relationship like you don't have options, you ain't ever have to worry about it. I travel around. Women come with me all the time. But if I walk around like if I look like I'm not available, and the ones that just push through anyway, you ain't an option to me. So that's just a little added advice for people who, you know, if a lot of people hitting on you, you probably look available to your audience, not y'all.
Okay, I like that. I can agree with what you just said. And it can be applied, and that's what you're saying. It should be applied to probably all aspects of life. Like let's.
I knew you were on board with that one.
Yep.
but again, it goes back to the early discussion. Who do I appeal to?
Yeah.
Because my stuff is biblically based. You gotta love. You gotta listen. You gotta have empathy. Those qualities. But we mess stuff up. We say stuff that doesn't make sense. We say, I teach soft skills. So when you're in a masculine environment and you say soft skills, men, because a lot of them are insecure, they say, I don't want to be doing that touchy feely. Well, guess what? You live in your feelings. You angry, you frustrated. You can't, I tell people feelings are like waves of the ocean. You can't stop the waves from coming in, but you can choose which one to surf on. Okay. So we should get rid of the term soft skill because that's an imperative. I mean, an impediment for people sometimes because they're like, I don't need that. Yeah, you do. That's why you had 8 jobs in 8 years because you got emotional intelligence issues.
Yeah, I can't get past that word soft.
Yep. But that's real.
Yeah.
We put a name on something, and people who aren't evolved, it's just another barrier. See, we going where we're supposed to go. This is about helping people. A new me, y'all.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes, it is.
Get the apparel.
It is. Oh gosh, I so appreciate this. There are times that I say like, okay, I know that this is for everyone, but I'm going to take this one for myself. I felt like you were talking to us, not just for myself, but for us. So I appreciate all the nuggets today. I appreciate you and your personality because it is definitely out there. There wasn't one thing that you didn't say today that can be applied to life or cannot be applied to life. So I definitely appreciate you bringing all your authentic self today and everything that you do, life coach wise, because I think every part of this was life coach.
The energy
was great.
I told you, I said he got energy. I'm telling you, the energy. I love it. The message there too. So sometimes you find people with good energy and no good message, or good message and not enough energy to support it. So I love all of it though.
Yeah.
So let me throw something else at you all. Somebody was talking to me about business. I said, it's a couple of things you need. I said, first of all, what is your message? What is the thing that you're going to convey? Your message could be your product. What is your message? What is the thing that's going to resonate with people? Secondly, what is your method of exporting that? What is your method to deliver your message? And if you have the wrong, you could have the right message, but the wrong method. And then lastly, who is your audience? You got to have the right message. You have to have the right method, and you have to understand who your audience is, because you can have the right message, but you're talking to the wrong audience.
Yeah.
So because your message is the thing that you breathe. It's your reason for getting out of bed. That's that thing that says, I have this that you need.
Okay.
Well, we gonna talk about this.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
We need a little bit more of that.
Because we're pretty well. We just started this January, February.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of this is definitely to us. No matter how much it has worked out so far, you can always use these messages, like for me anyway. So I love it, appreciate it, all of it.
But listen, when you start something, you have to remember, it's easy to do what you've done, but when you try to go into uncharted territory, you're actually going from the known to the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know what you don't know. And so for me, I just said, I'll just put it this way. You have to be courageous, and you have to be very careful. Like, I'll tell you a quick story. So when I wrote my book, one of my buddies, he's a PhD. He was an instructor at DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. And he was like, he's all intellectual. And he's like, he gave me 99 reasons why my business wouldn't work. So I grabbed a piece of paper like this, right? And I tore off the corner, a small corner. And I said, you see what this is? This represents what you told me that I can do well. I said, this represents what you told me how I'm gonna fail. I said, is that how you teach students? So he said, what do you have to say that people will resonate with? If I listened to him, I would have never wrote my book, because he was smart. He appeared to have knowledge. He had a level of success in what he was doing, but he didn't know what God told me. Yeah. In my book, hear this. I'm not saying this, I'm making this about y'all. My book, I didn't know this till I started doing this. So in best-selling category, it's all these different categories: new book, fiction, whatever. Per category, it's 100 books per best-selling category. My book was number 1 in self-help in America. And on the same list, Rachel Maddow's book was number 13 when I was number 1. I was number 2 in inspiration behind Cat. I'm saying that to say this: the odds of being number 1 in America, right? It's like, it don't happen. Like, you're on the bestseller list, you're like, yes, I made it. When you pursue your passion and you don't listen to what naysayers, because I told him, I said, let me tell you about your PhD. The only thing, I said, do you realize the first person that got a PhD conferred upon him, the person that conferred upon him didn't have a PhD. They just made up some rules and arbitrary requirements, and they gave him this piece of paper, and all it did, and I said, every day with your PhD, you sitting in DC fussing, sitting in traffic, because you didn't have the heart to do what I did. And if what I do works, it blows up your whole life plan, doctor. Holler back.
I appreciate it.
That sound like it sound like all right. No, I agree. Like, I like the paper. You pulled it out and you said this one piece of paper is telling me what I can do. Because I'm all about that. You can tell me a million things I can't do, and I'm like, but there's a chance. I'm gonna take that one chance.
Exactly. Listen, so I got back from Dominican Republic on Monday. I'm gonna be in Colombia, the country, this Monday. I was in Mexico the week before that. I was in Dominican Republic the week before that. So I said, if I can go out and work and make some money, and I can help people, and I pay God, I pay myself, and I can live the life, because I don't want on my grave, he was a hard worker. That ain't no good epitaph. It's like, I want to be like, he did good. They became a new me. So we help people, and then we enjoyed life. I wrote a 6-month daily devotional. The name of the book is You Better Enjoy Life. Because my grandfather used to say this, you better enjoy life because people are dying that never died before. You on that?
True. Okay. Let me know on that one.
Very true.
Very true. Very true.
Wow.
Did we go off the rails or this is what?
No, you know what?
No.
This is good. This is good. You know what? I don't feel like you can plan everything. No matter how much you try to plan it, I feel like some of the best things come unplanned. So
Yeah.
So I love it.
You got to give people what they need. And I'm gonna say this to you all with your business. I mean your podcast. I told people I made a mistake. Oh, I should tell you this about business. One of the biggest mistakes I made in business was, first of all, some people try to start too big. I said, man, I was talking to a guy today. I said, listen, we're gonna do great, but I ain't trying to be the biggest. I said, you got to get the first client. You got the hardest client to get is the first. So get somebody, if you don't know stuff, start small. So if you make a mistake, it don't kill you because you ain't wasted on some big client. So one, get the first client. I said, secondly, when you get the first client, this is where a lot of people make mistakes. They trying to get the second and 15th. And so my first client I lost them because I was so busy trying to get other clients. It's like in a relationship. If you neglect something, they're going to find somebody else to love. Or they're going to be like, well, I guess I don't need them. So I lost my client because I spent so much time trying to build my business that the person, see, if you get them clients and you never lose them, then you can live off that. So everything is growth. But if you get clients and you're so busy, now it's like one in and one out, zero-sum game. So what I'm saying to you about your podcast is when you get loyal followers, remember I said advocacy. Yep. When you say, what's on y'all mind? What y'all want to hear about? Because what? Business just ain't business. Business is life. It's relationship. It's your faith. It's you being honest. It's you, can I cheat to get ahead? It's a whole bunch of stuff that ain't got nothing to do with business, but got something to do with business. So I'm saying that to you to say, with your podcast, when you connect with your listeners and you keep coming, and it takes a lot of time, a lot of commitment, y'all doing that. That's how, so if you keep them, it's going to organically grow. But if you get them and they go, because the first few people, they're going to support you because they like you or they tired of you asking them. So, but once they see how good you are, they're going to be like, I kind of like them, but this program is good. You don't want somebody with you because they like you, because they'll fade away. You want somebody with you because you're giving them something they need.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why y'all married each other.
Yes.
In a relationship, 1 + 1 = 1. Anyway, back to you.
Thank you.
No, appreciate that.
Yes, and we will definitely take that and move forward. Apply it to the podcast.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna watch this one a few times, and because I can use this just throughout military, but also business. I'm definitely gonna.
I'm gonna tell you something else to think about too. So I preach. I used to preach. God used me different ways now. But this is where a lot of preachers get in trouble. It's a business principle. When I was the command chief of Coonsign, I was pastoring. So I was the command chief. I preached every Friday night at the service, and which was hard. This is where people get in trouble. They'll get they'll try every week. They got to come up with a new sermon. I said, y'all messing the Bible up, man. I said, for example, we'll go to 20. I preached on the 23rd Psalm for 2 months. For 8 weeks, I preached on the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, the Lord. First of all, the word "the," that's called a definite article, meaning there's only one. It didn't say a Lord is my shepherd. So I preached the first week about the Lord. Second week, what's a shepherd? What's attributes of sheep? What's provision? So I'm saying that to say, with your podcast or your whatever business people are doing, if you try to just gloss over stuff, it's so much meat. So this week we're going to talk about what does it mean when you want to give up? That's the topic. What does it mean when you got conflict? But if you try to come up with big overarching stuff and you just throw nuggets, no, walk me down the path. Yeah. Because the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leads me. Who's leading you? He leads me down. So I'm saying that surely good. So think about this. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all days of my life. So God leads you, right? The Lord, he leads me. So when God leads you, if God is before me, who can be against me? Before, as the advocate. So when God is before you, he precedes you. Or if you say for, that means he advocates for you. So if he precedes you and he leads you, he's in front of you. And if you fall back on something, you slip, surely in goodness and mercy will follow me. So I fall back on goodness and mercy. So I say that to say to your podcast, when you're trying to do stuff, say broad, but break it down so you don't have to do so much work and people can put meat on that. It ain't that you're trying to be slick with it. It's that, no, these are big things. These are concepts that you can't rush through. So now you're going to grow people as y'all grow. That's why I could teach everywhere. I said, they're like, man, ain't nobody broke this down. I said, because they rushed through it. You preach 23rd Psalm in one day. How you going to preach that? He prepares a table for me in front of my enemies. That means I'm eating with my head down because I'm relaxed, because I'm protected while I'm being persecuted. But I ain't coming here to preach.
But we gonna have you back for this.
Oh, y'all can bring me back. I'll be a regular. But I'm saying that to you to say with your podcast, how do we come up with subject? It's so much you can learn about business.
Yeah.
If that's where y'all going, but don't rush it. Don't try to think of everything. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like when you back in the day. I'll be 56 here in a couple of weeks. So when I was a kid, they had a show called Batman on. And you'd be watching Batman, and they'd be like, you know, going against the Joker or the Riddler, and they got him. And it's like, well, folks, that's the end of today's episode. But tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. You get them, like P.T. Barnum said, always leave them wanting more. They're going to come back.
Okay. Well, we are definitely going to have an open invite for you to come back and give us more nuggets. This today has been awesome in just the beginning. So we definitely appreciate you and your time and everything that you have left us with today. And not just us, this is for other people as well, to apply to life, to apply to that new opportunity that you have. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and
it's my honor. And also, Brian, I got to apologize to you because when I saw Brian, I was thinking about Brian Holloman, who actually brought me in to do the worldwide. And then I conflict because he was trying to get me to Guam. That's why I mentioned Guam earlier. And it hit me, and because but if he had got me to Guam, I probably would have. He wasn't in a position at that time. I would probably never done the worldwide. You would never seen me. Right. So it was a different time. So
I thought you were just saying that, you know, we was talking about going to Guam. I was like, no. You ain't tell me all this.
No, they've been trying to get me for years to do stuff, and it just never worked out until this one. But when I saw Brian, I put Brian because I had never seen Brian Holloman's face. And then when you said Brian, so when I saw Brian, I didn't look at the last name till later. I said, oh man, I kind of mixed them up. So my apologies for that.
No, it's cool. I know him though. Yeah, of course. EO's a small career field, so
yeah.
Met him.
So you just bring me out to y'all bases too. I do EO training. I graduate from Diomi and all that stuff.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I know you mentioned one thing earlier before we end. You said mentioned like what the podcast is about, right? So the podcast definitely ties into the brand. We want people to not only wear, and honestly, the podcast came before the shirts to me. So we want people to know that you can be a new me, same God, new me, or you can just be a new person each day. You should be a new person each day. But the podcast is, we want people to see how they can be that new person. So we try to bring people on to tell stories about how they became that new person and how they're doing it now. So that all ties into the new me established daily. We don't want to just tell you to wear it. We want to show you how you can do it. Watch our podcast. We're going to show you somebody that did it. And this is how you can do it. You don't have to do it their way. You know, make your own path. But this just shows you that there's already a blueprint out there that you can kind of make yours off of. So that's kind of what the podcast is about. It's not business. It's definitely centered around bringing people, making it more realistic, showing them what it looks like. So
thanks for clearing that up for me. Well, yes, I think you're onto something. And I'll say this too. It's very rare that a couple can do what y'all do. In most cases, couples can't work together. It's in a lot of cases not a good idea because, you know, you talking to me like I'm the husband, you talking to me like I'm the wife, etc. But I'm saying clearly you two, you have synergy, you have love, and that's actually refreshing for me to see. So, you know, it's been an honor and privilege to see it, engage with you all.
Thank you. Same here.
So thank you.
So look forward to talking to you again. I'll definitely shoot you the info over for the shirts. And
Yeah,
enjoy the
send me
rest.
where I can purchase them.
Yes, sir. We got a website. I'll shoot it. Well,
Just send it to me. I got
yes,
you.
sir.
Yeah, I definitely want to support you, and I think it. And be honest with you, I need some nice shirts to say something. So that I couldn't think of anything better. So yeah,
Yes, sir.
hook me up. I will definitely support you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you have a good night.
And we look forward to having you back.
Definitely,
Lucas.
definitely.
Yes.
Oh, before that, is there any? So, where can people find you at if needed?
So they can find me at Anthony. They can find me at onthebrinkconsulting.com. They can find me at chiefanthonybrinkley.com. They can find me at Brinks with an S, brinksresiliencetraining.com.
Okay.
And if anyone wants to purchase the books I've written, they can find them either on Amazon or they can get on chiefanthonybrinkley.com. So
all right. Yes, sir. Well, we will definitely be in touch at some point again. The book, we're getting the book. It's happening.
Yes.
It's happening.
2 of them.
When you first started talking about the book, I was like, that's me right there.
Yes,
So
2 of them.
we got to get the book.
I wish you all continued success.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You have a message that people need to hear. People sleepwalking through life, and that's why you see some of the things going on. So I just want to pray God's blessings, His provision, His protection, His insight, because you definitely have something. That's why we connected like this. And I always know we're gonna end up where we're supposed to go, because I kind of know that, and y'all good too. So
yes, sir.
But just know this, that I much respect, much love. Thank you for being diligent, tracking me down, because I would have missed a tremendous opportunity to engage with such a wonderful couple of people. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, bye-bye.